Get ready to rock radio.
And we're saying hello to one of our favourite guitarists at Get Ready to Rock. We did chat with him about a year ago now, just before the release of the Europe album, Last Look at Eden. We say hello again to John Norum. Hello, John.
Oh, hello.
Nice to talk to you. And you'll remember, or hopefully you'll remember, last year we had a very long chat about your very interesting career. And I was just mentioning before the interview, we had these almost like a time out after 20 minutes, and I had to keep redialing your number.
yeah,
but
I remember that.
Oh yeah, but it was interesting.
Yes.
And you've been busy since, because obviously you keep very busy with Europe. I mean, I don't know how the solo album fits into all this, but we will chat about that in the coming interview.
Oh,
and we started off with the track "Let It Shine," which of course is the first track on the album.
Yeah.
And when we spoke last year, John, I didn't sort of touch on your late wife Michelle, but as the album's dedicated to her, and I can understand why that is really, I thought we'd sort of ask you a couple of questions really. I mean, had you finished the solo album before Michelle's untimely death in 2008?
No, it wasn't done. I was kind of just doing basic tracks, tracks at the time, and
yes.
So I just kind of put the whole thing on ice, and I was, when this tragedy happened, I just kind of, I was in Sweden at the time, and she was in America, and so I just kind of put everything on hold, and went over there, and I was there for a couple of weeks, and my son was over there too. And he's the little guy on the cover.
Oh yeah,
he's the guy with the miniature Les Paul.
He's a star in the making, isn't he, John?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, he's great. I mean, he has it, in his blood or in his genes from both daddy and mommy,
Yes.
To play guitar. So he's very into it, So I wanted him to be on the cover too, as it is a dedication.
A tribute.
Yeah, tribute. Yeah.
How did that death sort of affect your music really? Because if you were right in the middle of your solo album, I know you put some of the Europe live dates on ice for a while, and it must be a dreadful thing. I mean, do you think it gave you strength in your music ultimately?
Yeah, I mean, well, at the time, it was just I was just so devastated that we had to cancel a couple of shows with Europe. I just couldn't do it. And but it really has been kind of a therapy for me.
Yes.
To go out and play and stuff, and so the more I work, the better it is. Then I don't think about it so much. So. And the guys have been really supportive and everything. So
yes, you just have to. Life goes on, but it's a long process, really, isn't it? The sort of healing process. And one thing we mentioned in our review is, I mean, I could understand if you were actually quite, because it might have different effects on people. Something like this. It was totally out of the blue, this, and you could feel angry, couldn't you, as a result? Frustration and all that sort of thing. But it doesn't seem to come out in the album, really. It's quite a positive album, really, I think.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, it's, I mean, when something like this happens, I mean, you just can't dig a hole and bury yourself. I mean, you just have to think positive. Especially when you have kids and stuff like that. You just want them to be happy, and you just have to try to move on. Even though in the beginning it feels very, it feels kind of like it's never going to go away,
No,
it really does. I mean, after 2 years now, it's starting feeling better, and our son is happy, and that's the most important thing. But yeah, I didn't want the album to be a dark, depressing album. I wanted it to be kind of up, and so I took quite a long time off there. I did a Europe album, and then I did a bunch of shows with them and stuff, and in the beginning I just thought I don't want to do it because she was working on an album at the time, and it just kind of felt bad, felt wrong to go in and work on, she was really looking forward to getting this album out, and it was a Meldrum album.
Yes.
so it kind of felt, kind of funny. But but after I went in the studio, because with Europe it's kind of like, you had deadlines, and it's a big machine rolling.
No, a lot to take your mind off things, really, isn't it? With the live gigs and recording, and the support of your band members as well. I'm sure that's important.
Oh yes, I mean they have been great, and I just I discovered that wow, this is actually a good thing for me to be working on, because then I don't think about it all the time.
No, and we should mention before we leave that sort of area that Michelle, of course, was a musician in her own right, and for those listeners who check out your sort of earlier solo albums, they'll notice that there's a fair number of co-writes actually with Michelle, aren't there? Over the years.
Yeah. She always helped me with the lyrics and stuff, because she was American, and I'm Swedish, so my English I have to check with her, and so it means something. It's not something that sounds cool, so it's actually have a meaning, and the what do you call it, grammar or whatever you call it. So everything is correct, and then she came up with a lot of good lines here and there, sometimes. So she helped me. She helped me a lot. Yeah.
Now, the album seems, to me anyway, it's the most consistent solo album I think I've heard from you over the years. It all seems to come together. I mean, do you feel like that, really, that it's... I know it's very easy to say that your latest offering, is the best type of thing, but how do you feel personally about this in relation to those other solo albums?
Well, I'm really happy with, the production and the sound of it, and the guitar playing. I think it's really good. I mean, it's the best I ever done, I think. And it's a couple of things now, looking back at it, that I could have been, done differently. I don't feel like I have like two kind of a hard rock metal type of songs in there. And now afterwards, it doesn't seem like they shouldn't really be there. It doesn't fit with the rest of the stuff, and I should have might have done. I should have done all the vocals myself, and kind of done the others, all the songs in the same kind of style, like a more blues rock type of thing. But I've gotten a lot of great response from those two songs. It's like, well, those are our favorites. It's like, oh, really? Those are the ones I didn't want to really have on there, when I think about it afterwards, But because they don't seem to fit. But
these are the songs, John, that you're talking with the different vocalists, are they?
Yeah. With Leaf's Sundin,
Yes.
And so now I'm kind of like, maybe I shouldn't have put these on there. But people, the fans seem to enjoy them, and it has a little bit of the Europe type of style. So I guess at the time I didn't want to kind of, sometimes a little bit scared to rock the boat a little bit too much, so to speak, And so I kind of put a couple of hard rock tracks in there, just to satisfy, some of the Europe fans and also the Japanese fans, because they're not very bluesy over there, Oh,
that's interesting. I mean, I think it actually satisfies those fans who enjoy your other solo albums, because I think they do match up to those more closely, don't they? Really, those two tracks,
Yeah, they do. But it's all right, like it's quite a long time ago, and the next album I'm going to do, or the next solo album I'm going to do, is going to be more of a blues rock thing, straight through. It's going to be heavy. I mean, it's not going to be
John Norum blues rather than anybody else.
It's a blues rock with elements of hard rock in there, So it's not a Chicago type of traditional old man's blues, as I call it.
Oh, it's interesting you say that, John, because I think the title Play Yard Blues, it may, people may think it's more of a sort of Gary Moore type of, strictly blues, no hard rock. So I was a bit worried when I first heard the album was announced. I mean, I knew you were making the album, and it was on stop-start with Europe, and you were trying to get it released.
I came up with the title because, the studio I recorded the album in is called Play Yard Studios, and
it seemed to fit nicely, that, didn't it? Yeah,
and it was also, me and my son there, on the cover, we're actually out in the play yard, playing in the play yard. If there is a word like play yard, I'm not really sure. Maybe not in England, but there, I've heard that is one in America. But it doesn't really matter. You can make up your own words.
Yes.
And we're sitting there playing guitars actually at his daycare, and we are in the yard playing, and obviously we got the blues because of the tragedy and all that stuff. And also the song, if you can call it a song, is basically just a jam. The title track, we're just kind of just jamming, and it's just kind of having fun, and it's we just did a couple of tracks, and it's all live, and we had a few beers and getting into the mood, and so, and it's just basically that song is mainly for guitar players.
Yes, it's often something guitarists do, isn't it, on a solo album? They slip in something like that, which satisfies a certain audience, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I was just thinking like this song is going to be for guitar players, and I think the whole album is pretty much a musician's album, it's even for drummers and bass players and stuff like that, because it's kind of showing, good musicianship, so to speak, So
yes. Oh, it certainly does. And so I think that's one thing to say to those people who want to seek out the album, that it isn't old man's music, as we might call it. This is very contemporary. There are a couple of hard rock tracks. Let's hear the second track on the album, one of my favourites, actually. This is Red Light, Green High.
Programmed by enthusiasts, not accountants, this is Get Ready to Rock Radio.
Now, tell me, John, what do you think your solo work allows you to do that you can't do in Europe?
Well, it's kind of more restricted in Europe. They're thinking more commercial, and they're thinking more like radio and stuff. So it's going to be, the solos are going to be shorter and slower. It's just, on Last Look at Eden, that's probably the slowest playing I ever done on any album,
Because I have to ask you about that, John. Basically, for somebody who's followed your solo albums and more recently Europe, really, the renaissance of Europe, I have to say, and we've reflected that in our reviews, really, that you do seem more restrained on this latest album, which I know when we talked about this a year ago, but often it's with the benefit of hindsight, and, you listen to the album a few times and it seeps into the consciousness, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
But have you had sort of feedback like that maybe it's too restrained, or do you see that's more, in the context of Europe, it fits much better?
Well, yes, I had a few complaints here and there. Mainly from guitar players. It's like, why are the solos so short?
Yes.
And stuff like that. But and because in the beginning, when we started doing the rehearsal for the album, some of the solos were twice as long.
Ooh.
And
there must be some good outtakes, John. Some good outtakes.
Yeah, it's all right now afterwards. When some stuff, it feels kind of cut off.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit cut off in some places, but like I said before, they're thinking, well, this song is going to be on the radio, and then the guitar solo shouldn't be too long and stuff like that. And I always bring AC/DC up. It's like, I don't, look at them, it's like they don't. It's not going to hurt the song if the solo is like 15 seconds. Or
it's quite economical, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. It really is. But I had the chance to, and I think they kind of, they felt that I was a little bit disappointed. It's like, well, with the rehearsal it was this long, and now you're just kind of cutting me off here, in the studio, and making everything shorter and stuff. But so I was a little bit disappointed, but then I get to play out on the last song on In My Time, where it's a super long guitar solo in the end, and it's guitars all over the place.
And that has some connection, I think, with the solo album, doesn't it? In the terms of it's the bluesy one, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a song that is also a song that Joey wrote for Michelle.
That's right. So it's got I know.
So he got me to kind of. Just kind of let loose there and play out, and so I'm happy about that. And but some of the stuff seems a little bit short here and there. Like I said, some of the solos were longer, but at the same time, it's just like if it fits the song, and it's no big deal really. I mean, I get to do that on my solo albums. You know, I can play as long as I want to. You
know?
No,
which brings me back to that question. What does it allow you to do, really? Because I do sense that. I suppose for guitarists, I mean, you're a top professional and you do what's needed, really. But I couldn't help thinking that was possibly one of the reasons why you turned off Europe in the late 80s, wasn't it? I mean, I know it was a bit more extreme than that. It was starting to become, a shadow of its former self type of thing. But, I mean, you've got to feel comfortable, haven't you, with the band, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in the 80s, I mean, the guitar playing or the solos were longer than they are now, actually. You know, the Final Countdown, they're much, like twice as long solos as compared to Let's Look at Eden. But, you know, I mean, mainly in the 80s it was like the whole image thing, you know, the bubblegum image and, you know, we're turning into Bon Jovi and you know, the poodle hair and all that stuff and spandex pants and all these things. So and, you know, the keyboards, the synthesizers were taking over and the production was very slick and, you know, I mean, mainly it was mixed for American radio. You know?
Yeah.
That's why it sounds like that, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's very has a lot of has a lot of effects on everything, and it's kind of hard to listen to the album today because it could have been so good. I mean, it sounded so great when we recorded the basic tracks. It was all dry and kind of roomy sounding, and then they took it to San Francisco, and then Kevin Elson mixed it. You know, he did a lot of Journey stuff and Mr. Big and people like that, and it got very slick and boring. But you know, I shouldn't complain. You know, it was a huge hit.
Yes, that's right. Now let's talk a bit more about your guitar playing itself. I know we did speak a bit about this last time, John, but from a playing point of view, you've already mentioned to us that you think this is amongst your best playing really on a solo album. But do you ever worry, or have you ever worried over the period of your career? And you know, you're in your 40s now, a very young-looking 40, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
But
I try to be healthy.
well, no, but you know, do you ever feel that you've actually peaked in terms of your playing style, and you know, you've achieved the crucial things like, you know, great tone, melodic invention? I mean, is there a time? I mean, I look back at your videos. We talk about the late 80s. And, you know, you can hear, you know, obviously the John Norum approach and style, but you've obviously got better and better. I mean, is there a time when you can say, well, actually, there is a time, it was that album, and I just feel everything clicked into place? I mean, how's it worked out for you? And do you still think there's improvement to come?
Oh, yes, definitely. I mean, that has always been very important to me, you know, that you, I mean, guitar is such an instrument that you know, there's always new things to, you know, discover and learn, and so I feel like I always said this in the past. I still have a long way to go. I mean, but I don't think I do anymore. You know, I feel quite, comfortable with the guitar playing. But it's always, it's always new things that you can pick up and learn. So, but if you talk about speed-wise and stuff like that, on Play Art, I had definitely peaked there. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to be playing that fast again. It was. I think it's a very spiritual album in a way that with Europe is kind of. I don't want to put the whole process down with Europe. I mean, it's all good, but they always have a time schedule you have to follow. You go from, well, you have to finish this in a couple of weeks, and because they have a, deadline. We have deadlines, and the record companies and all that stuff, and the promotion and
quite a lot of pressure on you, really.
Isn't that. So you have to kind of go in and perform right on the spot. But with my own album, I went in and I just played one day, and it's like, well, the sun is not quite right in the sky at the moment. I don't feel the vibe, and it's like, well, let's just go out and have some Indian food or something, and then we come back and try it tomorrow, or the next day, and or tomorrow, I should say. And sometimes it happens, and sometimes it just kind of took a week off. So I just kind of went for because I'm a moody bastard anyway. So I just kind of went after, what felt good at that
Yes.
particular day, So
It sounds, I mean, that's, with you saying that, I think it does come over actually in the album, but what you're saying really is it's a bit more of a natural process maybe than Europe, which is pressurized, and, you could really take a bit more time over this, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more relaxed, and I just kind of go in and try to sing a little bit here and there, and it's like, no, I don't really feel like singing today, maybe we should bring Mick Elliott to play a little bit of keyboards today, and I'm not really in the mood, stuff like that. So I just kind of took my time and do it whenever, the moment is right,
Yes. Now, on the album, you continue the great tradition, really, of John Norum solo albums with some cover versions. And you've got a mountain track on there, Leslie West piece. You've got Frank Marino. I mean, did you want to pay some sort of tribute to these musicians, or was it just you like the songs?
Yeah, I didn't have enough songs at the time.
Simple as that.
A couple of covers. No, but I definitely wanted to do the Thin Lizzy track. That was... Yes. I decided that right from the get-go. And, I always loved that song, It's Only Money, and it's also one of those songs that not a lot of people know about, that much. If you're not really into Lizzy, of course, but because it wasn't a hit, and it was on the album Nightlife,
Yes.
Like a lot of like regular Joes out there don't really know that much about. They kind of discovered the band when Jailbreak came out.
That's right.
So but then I did a tribute album to Frank Marino a couple of years ago, and I can never remember the title of that album. It's Smoke something, not Up in Smoke. That was the movie. And I did a Frank Marino song on there, and it's different guitar players, different artists doing one song each,
Yes.
And I had so much fun with that, so I thought, well, this was great. I want to come my next solo album. I want to kind of have a little bit in that style, Mahogany Rush, that type of thing. And so I decided to do a Frank Marino song, and that is I always liked that song, Ditch Queen, a lot. So I went in there and just burned all over the place. And Frank had heard it, and he think it's great. So that was good.
This is good, isn't it? And of course, there's the mountain track on there, isn't there, as well?
Yeah, and the mountain track. That song I heard about maybe like 25 years ago or something, and I always loved that melody. And the first time I heard it, I was like, well, maybe one day I'm going to do a cover of this song. It's so cool, It's a very simple song, but the melody in there is just so beautiful. It has a really special vibe to it. So finally I got to it to do that one. And Leslie West and Corky Lane, the drummer, they found out that I've done it, and so they sent their manager. The manager sent an email to Noble in England, the PR people, and they wanted to ask for a copy, so they sent it out, and I was like, wow, I hope he's going to like it, so he doesn't beat me up next time I see him.
I'm sure he won't do, no.
Because they are a New Yorker after all.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Be careful.
Be careful. Now, and you mentioned Thin Lizzy, because that has been a running theme. I mean, you've done tributes to Thin Lizzy live, haven't you? And you've played with Bryan Robertson, and you've included Thin Lizzy tracks on several solo albums. I mean, you mentioned John. I think it's great when you do pick out these obscure tracks. And I had to search for that one, It's Only Money, and as you say, it's on the 1974 Nightlife album, isn't it? Yeah. Let's hear that track now, It's Only Money.
Get ready to rock radio, music you want to hear.
Now, what do you think of the Thin Lizzy reformation with Vivian Campbell? Would you like to be in that band, John?
No, I wouldn't do it. I don't know. I think Scott had I think a pretty good idea.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, what is he going to do next? When John Sykes has left, and I think this is pretty good. The big thing is that Brian Downey is back. That makes a huge difference.
Yes, that's right.
And so you have a few of the original Lizzy members in there. And Darren is back, You know, I don't really know. You know, it's kind of touchy subject in a way. You know,
yes.
I mean, it's kind of. I gotta hear it first.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
It seems kind of weird that they are. You know, they had a singer. You know, I was thinking. But at the same time, I'm thinking, like, would he get a bass player that would be, you know, in the front? You know, that might not, you know, be a good idea either, you know. So.
No, I know. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you want to hear those songs played, but I think the actual makeup of the band is so crucial. But I think I agree with you that with Brian Downey back, which surprised me really when I read that.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think he would want to be sort of, or maybe just didn't have the stamina for more live gigs. But it's good to see them, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, he was such a big part of the whole groove of that band, you know, the whole sound and everything. And so, I mean, that is great. But when I heard that Sykes had left, I just thought, what is he going to do now? You know, Brian is not going to do it. And,
no, that's right.
You know, and so he's just going to be Scott and some other guys, you know. But so I think this might work, you know. This might be a good, you know, good thing. And you know, in a way, it's good to, you know, keep the songs alive and, you know, go out and play them live, and because they're great songs, and, you know.
That's right.
So we just have to wait and see how it goes.
Yes, yes. Well, just to conclude then, John, are there any recordings that, you know, in your sort of back catalogue, as it were? You mentioned last time we spoke, you did some recording with Bryan Robertson right at the end of I think it was around about the 1990s, or maybe the end of the 1990s into 2000.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're aware of that you'd like to be, you know, that you'd like released in the future? Even your own solo material, outtakes, live material, anything like that?
Well, not really. I mean, you know, I played on, Bryan Robertson started doing a soul album like, well, it probably is like 10 years ago, and he never finished it, you know, and but now he's back again, and I think the album is done now. And Brian was actually supposed to play on It's Only Money on Play Yard. That's why I extended the solo. It's 2 solos in there, so I extended the one. It's like twice as long to the original, because we were supposed to do a trade-off thing.
Yes.
But he called, and he didn't show up in the studio, actually. I was wondering, what's going on here? And then he called and said that he's had a really bad shoulder, and he tried to play in the morning, but he just couldn't do it. He hurt so bad, so he was very sorry about that. But
that's disappointing for you, isn't it, that? Yeah.
That would have been fun, you know, but it got me to play, you know, the whole solo instead, so that was...
Wasn't too bad.
It wasn't too bad. You know.
But there is, I mean, presumably there are some recordings then with you and Bryan Robertson from that sort of early 2000, 2001, I think it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what those tapes are right now or anything. I have no idea. But it was tapes. It wasn't a computer. They were not using Pro Tools or anything like that.
Right. So
it was taped. It was actually recorded analog, and which I thought was pretty cool. And but it just kind of you know, I don't know what happened. You know?
No. Now, what about sort of immediate plans? Finally, John, in terms of perhaps playing live, you know, playing the solo album live and appearing live. I mean, is that a possibility, even bearing in mind that you're very committed with Europe? Yeah,
I mean, At the moment, I'm really busy just doing the summer festivals right now.
Yes.
With Europe, and but after the summer, you know, when I have some time off with the band, I might do a few shows here and there. You know, that would be fun to do. So. And the record company really wants me to do it. So.
And would that include, you think, the UK?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you've got a great following, I think, here now, and I think more people will. You know, we were hoping this, I think, a year ago with the new Europe album. I think people will be more exposed to your music now, your guitar playing. I mean. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, they seem to really be into it now. I mean, we got some great reviews from. You know, for our last album, you know, Last Look at Eden, and also I've gotten some really good reviews from my solo album right now from the UK. So
yes,
and so it's exciting. I mean, and it will be kind of a club tour there. That would be great.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. So I really enjoy playing in the UK. I think it's amazing. It's always been a dream of mine to play there, and it took a really long time before I even got there to play. I mean, the first time I played in the UK was with Dokken, actually, which was in 2001.
Oh yes,
from the Long Way Home album that we did. So it was like, well, finally I get to play in UK. It's like, because all the great bands that I grew up with and was influenced by came from England.
Oh yeah.
And so it's always exciting.
No, that's right.
England has always been number one, and then America. Those are the two countries that you kind of want to be able to go to and play. Because they have so much music history and stuff like that, and musicians you admire and bands you admire.
Because of course you spent a fair time in America, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Not least with Dokken, and it's rather nice that you say that. But I think what helps also, John, is that I presume you're living still in Sweden now, but I mean,
yeah.
I think it does help when you've got such a great command of the language as well. Really,
I'm a little bit rusty now, but it's coming back now slowly. Especially in the morning, it's a little bit hard to kind of find the words right away, But I can already feel like I'm coming back to it, because sometimes you have a couple of weeks off, you don't say a word in English.
No, I know.
So then you have to kind of start a little bit from scratch. But now I can feel it's coming back to me.
Great, and you've got a whole day full of interviews ahead. I'm sure you'll be speaking by the end of the day. It's
my English will be fluently at the end of the day today.
Just like the guitar playing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Look, John, thank you very much indeed for talking to us again.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Good luck with the album. We've been really enjoying that. It's a cracking album, and I think when you do compare it to those previous albums, that's not to say that they weren't as good, but I mean, it's certainly everything's come together on this album. It's great.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate it. I'm very happy with it. So
great, and look forward to talking to you again, John.
Sounds great. All right, take care.
Thank you.